Good morning, everyone. I know there's still some people out in the hall, but we've had a very busy agenda, and I want to make sure we have adequate time for Beth Narvaez, her comments, and also a post-discussion with her and with Paul Diego Holzer. So welcome to the Rising Star Breakfast, focused, as it has been the last several September time periods, on education. This one is called Education and the Talent Pipeline, and I think it'll become evident why we've entitled it that. We want to thank Superintendent Narvaez for being with us, and Paul Diego Holzer, who's the Executive Director of Achieve Hartford, for being here. Delighted that Joe Marfuggi is with us, and we'll be recognizing Joe in a minute. Our mission is to make sure this region does indeed compete aggressively and successfully for jobs, capital, and talent, and this morning's program is clearly focused on that latter, ensuring that we have both adequate talent, but also that we have opportunities for people for young people who live in this region, and particularly in the city of Hartford. I want to thank Travelers, and Marlene Ibsen will be up here shortly for being our event sponsor. Appreciate the partnership that we have with Eric Daniels and Paul Holzer at Achieve Hartford, and for their being the event partner this morning. And certainly want to thank everybody at Infinity Hall who do indeed make great music together for hosting us here at this wonderful facility. I want to thank our media sponsors, the Hartford Current and the Fox Connecticut Media Group, and just take a minute and thank them for the coverage over the last several weeks of the Democratic primary that ended yesterday. Certainly extend our heartiest congratulations to the slate that won, but to everybody who ran. Hats off to the mayor, to all who care about this city and took the time and made the energy to put their ideas forward. Obviously, we have a general election in November to go forward, but hats off to all of them. Certainly thank, if you didn't see the piece this morning, Tom Condon did a wonderful profile on Nick Carbone, who passed away yesterday. On a very selfish matter, while he's not here today, the number two vote candidate on the Democratic slate was our own Julio Concepcion. So if you give him a round of applause, I know we'll hear it wherever he is. And it just shows when you vote early and often, everything does work out. We have a number of new investors to welcome this morning. We have 8 new Hartford investors, and I'll introduce them. And if they have their representatives here, if they could stand and be recognized so we can recognize them as a group, that would be great. Allied Barton Security Systems in Shelton. It's a premier provider of trained, responsive security personnel. Its local response allows it to meet the specific needs of its customers. And representing Allied Barton here this morning are Terry Lesko, Business Development Manager, and Paul Dotson, the District Manager. If you gentlemen are here, would be welcome to stand up. Cross Key Architects, LLC in Hartford, is an award-winning architectural and design firm that creates architecture to inspire people, transform neighborhoods, revitalize and enhance the built environment, and conserve our cultural past. Joining us today are Chris Dupre, the business manager, and Nina Caruso, historic preservation specialist. Delighted that you're here. You're both here. Thank you for being here. Hartford City Football Club, I believe is the FC, is the newest member of the Major Arena Soccer League. They're kicking off in November, their season off in November this year. They'll host at least 10 games at the XL Center. In addition to providing thrilling entertainment, they hope to inspire and strengthen soccer programs throughout the state of Connecticut. Here with us today, Mitch Anderson, who's president and general manager, Tom Novojaski, senior vice president, and the coach, Paul Wright. Gentlemen, if you are here, we thank you for being here, and we'll kick it around a little later on. Health Educated, Inc. in Farmington is a Connecticut benefit corporation that focuses on recruiting, training, and maintaining a diverse network of community-based agents to help people navigate the healthcare system from enrollment to maintaining their health. With us here today is Antonio Pinto, the president and CEO, if he's here. I'm sure we got a traffic problem. Oh, there we go. Thank you. I knew we'd see it. Thank you for the heads up. Our other 4 new Hartford investors include Jay Hilburn in West Hartford, which is a luxury custom men's line without the custom price. All fabrics come directly from Italian mills, and a personal stylist comes to you for your measurements, fabric selection, and personalizing your look. And with us today from Jay Hilburn is Susan Berman, personal stylist. Susan, are you here? Thank you very much for being here. And Keolis Rail Services of America, based down in Old Lyme. It manages transit and rail operations in the USA from coast to coast. It operates the Virginia Rail Express commuter rail line serving the Northern Virginia, D.C. suburbs. It also operates the MBTA commuter rail service up in the Boston region, the 5th largest rail system in the United States, and it is the single largest transport contract in the country. And with us today is B.J. Fennell, Hartford Line Proposal Manager. B.J., good, thank you for being here. Legacy Foundation of Hartford is a venture philanthropy and a 501c3 charitable organization focused on addressing disparities in health and education, and with an emphasis on the most challenged areas of the city. The Legacy Foundation develops and executes programs that advance youth education and encourage a proactive, responsible approach to health. It also invests in and partners with other organizations to deliver that same responsibility. And so with us today from the Legacy Foundations are Greg Jones, who's the founder and chair, Lorraine Warren, who oversees their education programs, Denise Patterson, program administration, and Aaron Killia, programs and development. Are you all here? Thank you very much. Delighted you're here. And then Jordan Porco Foundation here in Hartford. After losing their son during his freshman year of college to suicide, the Porco family established the Jordan Porco Foundation, or JPF, to create programs that help other families avoid this same horrific tragedy. Now in its fourth year, JPF works with colleges, universities, and high schools to deliver peer-to-peer programming that identifies students at risk. It also helps to increase help-seeking behaviors, promotes social connectedness, and develops life skills. And with us here today is the Chief Operating Officer, Matthew Riley. Matthew, if you're here, thank you, delighted you're here. So please, all 8 of those, we're delighted you're all Hartford investors. Please give them a warm round of applause. We have two new regional investors. One is the Covenant Preparatory School here in Hartford. It opened in 2008 to meet the educational needs of underserved students in Hartford and the surrounding communities. Covenant Prep partners with students, families, staff, and volunteers to form a covenant for school success. Parental involvement is required, and funding comes from individual donors, foundations, corporate sponsorships, and grants. I know that Keith Hubert from PwC has been a real driver of Covenant Prep from its beginning. With us here today is Glenn Winfrey, Covenant Prep's head of school. Glenn, are you here? I think I saw you come in. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. Also a new regional investor, Easter Seals, Capital Region in Eastern Connecticut, which had been previously a Hartford investor with us. They're based in Windsor, and they help individuals with disabilities and special needs, as well as their families, live better, from child development centers to physical rehabilitation and job training. Easter Seals offers a variety of services to help people with disabilities address life's challenges and achieve their personal goals. The Easter Seals Capital Region in Eastern Connecticut organization has a long and proud record of service to this community. It was founded in 1948, and today the local Easter Seals is proud to be a regional leader in comprehensive rehabilitation services and day support services. And with us here today are Mary Ann Slomsky, Chief Development Officer, Jennifer Nielsen, Director of Development, and Andrea Marscaro, Director of Marketing and Public Relations. Ladies, I know I saw a couple of you earlier. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And then our third new regional investor is Uber, based in New York City. I assume a few of us have heard of it. It seamlessly connects riders to drivers through an app, making cities more accessible and opening up more possibilities for riders and more business for drivers. Since its founding in 2009, Uber has expanded to serve more than 300 cities across the globe. In July alone, over 9,500 Uber trips ended or began in West Hartford, and Alliance investors can get 20% off their first Uber ride. To learn more about that, see Matt Powers, Uber's general manager. Ideally, Matt, where are you here? Thank you very much. Delighted. And Matt will also be bringing Mayor de Blasio to our next meeting to talk about the impact of Uber on traffic in New York. And we're delighted to welcome a new strategic partner. A couple of breakfasts ago, we recognized Gloria McAdam for her extraordinary service in getting Food Share to being one of the premier organizations in this region as the food bank for Greater Hartford. So today, we're delighted to welcome Food Share as a strategic partner, again, having been a Hartford investor with us for some time. I think as all of you know, that the Food Share is the food bank for this region. It brings together thousands of donors and volunteers with one shared goal, that every day, everyone in our region will have enough healthy, nutritious food to eat. This year, the organization will provide enough nutritious food for 12 million meals, distributing it to 300 partner programs who together serve over 137,000 people. It has programs that build economic self-sufficiency and advocates for policies that address the root causes of hunger and poverty, and it serves almost every town in Hartford and Tolland counties. And with us here today are Mary Kate Cox, who's the Vice President and Chief Development Officer, and its new President and CEO, James Arena DeRosa. Are you both here? I know I saw Mary Kate. I thought a minute ago. Thank you both very much. Thank you. We're delighted. I know that you go through that many of them. I just want to make sure I underscore to those who were introduced here today and to all of you who are investors how much we appreciate the support, the financial support that you provide, but as importantly, how much we value the intellectual capital and the energy that you invest in your own organizations and that we benefit from. So thank you all for making the commitment to this region's economic prosperity and health, and we're delighted to have those of you who are new to the organization, delighted that you're here. Before we get into the Beth's presentation and a discussion with she and with Beth and Paul, we want to take a minute and recognize Joe Marfuggi. We're a little late to the game in the sense that Joe stepped down several months ago, and we tried to do this back in April, but his speaking engagement and endorsement requirements didn't allow him to accommodate our calendar. So we are here today to recognize someone who is really an icon in this community. I have this 20-page biography that he submitted to me to read. I think his mother probably wrote it years ago. Let me just say that those who there are some who actually think that Joe was here during the Ice Age when the Connecticut River Valley was formed, but it has only been 29 years. We're very delighted that Mike Zaleski will succeed Joe and look forward to continuing to work with him and the entire extraordinary team that is over at Riverfront Recapture. But for this moment, we want to salute someone whose leadership in this organization and indeed the entire region has been extraordinary. The foundation that he has built and left to all of us with the Riverfront Parks in East Hartford and Hartford, the partnership that's been built with those two municipalities and with the Metropolitan District Commission really is exceptional. And Joe's grace, his dignity, his good humor, and his humility have characterized him. When I thought about saying how we were going to put the inscription in, all I can think of, and it's not the song is obviously out of context, but in Porky and Bess, there's that extraordinary almost hymn of Old Man River, where the song goes that Old Man River, he don't say nothing, but he must know something. He just keeps rolling along. So, Joe, if you'd come out here for a minute, on behalf of all of us. Joe, you back there? All right. I just want to, by the way, there's no tie. We thought he was going to wear sandals. The jacket he found in a pile in one of his closets that he threw in there before. So on behalf of all of us, Joe, we present this Rising Star Award for over 29 years of extraordinary leadership on behalf of one of the region's most important economic, natural, and recreational assets. The MetroHartford Alliance salutes Connecticut's Old Man River.
Thank you, Oz. There aren't many people who could get me to put on shoes and socks at this hour, but Oz is one of them, so it's a real pleasure to be here with you. And it's an honor to receive this award on behalf of Riverfront Recapture's board of directors and staff. The men and women who created Riverfront Recapture back in 1981 soon realized that the task of restoring access to the Connecticut River was such an ambitious, big goal that they couldn't do it by themselves. So they set out to create a public-private partnership that could help get the work done. Over the years, this partnership has expanded to include not only corporations and small businesses, but foundations and federal, state, and local government, and thousands of individuals and organizations like the MetroHartford Alliance. Together, we have demonstrated what this city and region can accomplish when we work together and rally behind a big idea. It worked in such an impressive way. This past season, actually the season is still going on. There's still opportunities for you to get to the river. Riverfront Recapture welcomed more than 900,000 visitors to the parks for festivals, concerts, and sporting events. And the best is yet to come. With Mike Zaleski at the helm, the Riverfront staff is continuing to work on expansion of the park system, adding activities, and looking forward to welcoming even more people to enjoy this priceless regional asset. So thank you for your support. Continue your support for Riverfront Recapture because the possibilities are endless. So thank you very, very much.
Joe, thank you very much. And I knew that when you said to me you keep your remarks short because you can't wait to get that jacket off. We're delighted to be able to recognize you. So we'll move now into the core topic, which is the public school, the educational and talent pipeline here. And I'm going to segue into introducing Marlene Ibsen by just acknowledging a very important partnership that both Marlene and certainly the superintendent will touch on. And that is the Hartford Student Internship Plan. This is a partnership involving the Hartford Public School System, the City of Hartford, Capital Workforce Partners, CBIA, and the Alliance. And in this fall season, this fall semester, the effort being led by the school system and Capital Workforce Partners is seeking 120 work sites that for providing internships for 120 students beginning in October, looking for 60 hours of total service during that fourth quarter, all after school, and the wages are paid and logistics are all handled for you. As I said, it's a partnership between these 5 organizations. It's intended to connect the dots between education and business for a competitive future workforce. And as I said, we're looking for 120 internships. There's information out on the front, which we'd encourage you, if you didn't pick it up on the way in, to do so and to take a look at the flyer that's there or going online to see whether there's an opportunity for you to provide an opportunity for a Hartford high school student. As I said, the wages are paid thanks to the program's generous funders, and Capital Workforce Partners will do the matching for those who are willing to provide the internship with the students. So there's information out there, and as I ask Marlene to come up, this is an example, and while the superintendent's certainly going to talk about her strategic plan, the emphasis this morning is about the partnership between the private sector and the school system. It is incredibly important that all the things that the school system that Beth is leading do in the classroom every day are augmented by real-life workforce experience. We know that's critical to an individual's development, and for many young people in the city, they don't have the same opportunities that maybe others do. So rallying together, building off of Joe's comment about collaborating and working together, this is another important big idea that we need to rally behind and support as we go forward. Companies like Travelers and others have been in the internship business for a long time. They understand the value of that connection, and we're delighted that they're here today. I also want to put a plug in for Hartford Promise, and while that won't get the same visibility today, Richard Sugarman is leading that effort. And again, the linkage between the private sector and the school system, so to provide the funds to those students who we ideally will be ready and willing to go on and pursue a 2 or 4 year education, that funding or lack of funding will not be an impediment to that. So again, 2 examples of where Travelers in this case has provided significant leadership, and I want to introduce Marlene Ibsen, who in turn will introduce the superintendent. Marlene is known to all of us in this room as the chief executive and president of the Travelers Foundation. She's vice president of community relations for the company, and she oversees some very, very important work for Travelers itself, but also oversees the funding of programs, particularly here in the Hartford region, that we're most interested in, including things like Travelers Edge. So it's my pleasure, if she's not right behind me. There she is. Please welcome to the podium Marlene Ibsen.
Thanks, Oz. Good morning, everybody. Even though from where I sit every day, it's all about Travelers, I'm going to forego some of my Travelers informational remarks this morning in the interest of getting to this very important presentation and discussion, except to say that of the $8.5 million in local funding we did last year, more than 40% of it went to trying to help our community see academic success and career pathways for underrepresented youth. And that's because everyone at Travelers throughout the organization firmly believes that a great education leads to lifelong opportunities and impactful citizenship. So we are thrilled to be here once again. I was here a year ago to introduce you to our new superintendent, Beth Schiavino-Narvaez. And let me remind you for a quick second why I was so optimistic then and we were so happy to have her coming to Hartford. She's led school turnarounds as both a principal and a central office leader. She was a deputy superintendent of school support and improvement in Maryland's Montgomery County Public School System. She was assistant superintendent for teaching and learning right next door in Springfield, Massachusetts. And she began her career as a Fulbright scholar in South Korea, where she taught English at a Korean public high school. She also volunteered with the Peace Corps in the public of Kiribati. In addition, she's taught an urban middle school in her home state of Pennsylvania and was an elementary and middle school principal in the Pittsfield, Mass. System. She has a Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education from Penn State and a Master's of Education in School Leadership and a Doctorate of Education in Urban Superintendency from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. So, eminently qualified, right? We were just thrilled to have her coming on board to take a hard look at where we'd come from in Hartford and where we needed to go. And I'm really pleased to say this morning that based on a lot of the work that so many of you in the business community and in the larger community have done to help her get to know this community, to really listen and understand through all stakeholders our needs, what's important to us, what's important to our youth so that they can succeed in life. I'm even more optimistic than I was last year. Oz mentioned this tremendous collaborative spirit and some leaders in our community that we're proud to have supported financially and with a lot of our folks getting involved. The Hartford Promise, the Greater Hartford Consortium for Higher Education, Capital Workforce Partners, which is just doing tremendous work on internships, and of course, Achieve Hartford, and you'll hear from Paul a little bit later. So I would ask all of you to pay close attention, see where you can plug in, where you can help the momentum that's building, and please welcome our superintendent, Dr. Narvaez.
Good morning. I want to thank you, Oz, for having me back this morning, and Marlene, thank you for the kind introduction. One of the reasons that I was excited to come to Hartford to serve as superintendent is because of companies like Travelers. The richness of partnerships with the business community is just outstanding. We like to talk about standards quite a bit in education, and Travelers has truly set the standard for what quality partnerships look like in the business community. Now, I know what you're thinking. What about me? Many of you are involved in our schools, and I thank you for that. Having visited every single one of our schools last year, and I'm starting my second rounds, I have personally witnessed the amazing work that you do in our schools. Thank you so much. And today I'm here to share with you my plan for the Hartford Public Schools, cultivating equity and excellence. And there is room for involvement at every level. As I walk through the plan, please give some thought to how you might be part of the plan. And I have some ideas that I can share with you. Hartford Public Schools is in the business of creating leaders that will transform their world. That's our vision. And that's the role I see our district playing in making Hartford, the region, and our state competitive. The average age of Hartford's population compared to the rest of the state is on average 10 years younger. Demographically, that is significant because that means that Hartford is and will continue to be a critical supplier of talent for many years to come. And as such, we must start to truly think differently about how we do our work to ensure that our students not only graduate from high school in greater numbers, but they also have the skills that they need to be successful in college, work, and life. And that's what cultivating equity and excellence is all about. So we use a tree to symbolize rebirth and renewal. It's a new day in the Hartford Public Schools, and we're moving forward boldly on behalf of our students. Here's our vision. We are your talent pipeline. Our students will transform their world. In order to do that, each and every day, it is our responsibility to prepare students to create their own success, not only in school, but beyond. And it's that student ownership that you'll see throughout this plan. And action. Here's how we believe we're going to get it done. We've layered our theory of action with our core values about how we achieve equity. Starts with high expectations. We need to engage our students differently. We need to make sure we reach each and every student and we pay attention to each and every school. People ask me, Superintendent, how do you close the achievement gap? I say, there's no way around it. You have to go student by student. So we're making a commitment to each and every student in Hartford. Then you got to take care of the adults. Adults have to practice differently. We need to expand their capacity so that we can get more equitable outcomes for our students. The question that guided the development of this plan was, what will it take? What will it take so that every student thrives and every school is high performing? So this is where we're going. How will we get there? So here's the how, right? How we're watering our tree, our strategies. Now, you all know, and many of you were part of the development of this plan, and you guided us, and you said, guys, you have to focus. Focus is so critical for improvement. So we landed on 2 key strategies. We're placing our bets. We're putting our money on 2 big strategies to achieve our bold vision. Leadership. Develop leaders to lead for learning. You cannot have a great school without a great principal. And no school has ever turned around without great leadership. We are investing in our leaders. Education is a people business, and we need to invest in our leaders at all levels. This doesn't only mean principals, though. We have great leaders in our teacher ranks. We have great parent leaders. And we have great leaders with you in the audience, our partners in the business world, higher ed, and our great community-based organizations. We're committed to helping our leaders to grow so that we can better serve our students. Second strategy, our students. How do we make sure that they are at the center of all that we do, ensuring that students are engaged, that they own their learning, and that they have a sense of agency and self-efficacy to be the change agents that we need them to be as the future of this city, the state, our country, and the world. Let me give you some more specific examples of what we mean by putting students at the center of their learning. We're committed to making sure that every student has a personalized plan starting in 6th grade that helps them to envision their future and to map out the goals that they need to meet to get there. Their academic path, their social and emotional goals. So you will see again throughout this plan a personalization of kids' experience with us. Literacy and language. This isn't your traditional reading, writing, arithmetic, right? You all tell us you need people who can communicate well, who can collaborate with others, who can think critically, and who can solve problems. So we're raising the bar on what literacy and language acquisition means in our classrooms. And by the way, we are blessed with having many English language learners in Hartford. 16% of our student population of nearly 22,000 kids are English language learners. We think that is a gift, and you should too. So many bilingual children who will be adults who can work in your companies and navigate because of their language and their cultural skills. And so we want to honor and build on that gift and make sure that our classrooms are language rich. And then customized experiences. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about some of those customized experiences in a minute. But first, we're committed to building that strong literacy foundation by a key strategy in action. So I'm going to show you what some of these strategies are looking like in our school district. So we've had as a goal in the school system for a while, reading proficiently at 3rd grade. We didn't have a curriculum, K2. So this is some of the work that we've done to make sure that our kids can achieve that powerful goal of reading on grade level at 3rd grade. So we've rolled out a brand new K2 literacy curriculum to help our kids get there. Let's talk about those customized experiences. And this is where many of you have been so critical to our success. We have a school called the Academy of Engineering and Green Technology. And they have the most amazing advisory board made up of people like you, members of the business community. CBIA is a strong partner. Dale Walker, I want to give a shout out to her and her leadership. She's a daily presence in that school. Because of that partnership and the advisory board, they've created an opportunity for students in that school to build solar-powered wind turbines that are sent to Nepal to power birthing centers and schools. Now, last year, because of the earthquake, they couldn't transport the solar panels and the wind turbines by truck, so they had to use yaks. And it led to a new expression, it's yakable. But this is an example of the powerful opportunities for our kids that are only possible because of what you bring to the table. Really cool and powerful stuff. Let's talk about leadership and how we're working to grow our leaders across the system. One of the major shifts in our work has been moving from a system where our schools are constantly competing with one another to collaboration. We have great stuff going on across the system. We never had time to talk about it and to learn from each other. So we have built in opportunities for strong school support networks so leaders can learn from one another and learn from all those great things going on across the school. You see us calling out family and community partnerships as one of the ways that we're building leadership across the community. And then disciplined use of data and teams. Nobody does this work alone. You have to leverage the power of teams in order to achieve what we hope is possible for all of our students. But I want to tell you about a powerful school support network that we've put in place as another example of a strategy in action. Hartford, sadly, is still a tale of two school systems. We have some of the highest performing schools anywhere. One of our schools, Breakthrough Magnet School, was the best magnet school in America last year. Our Academy of Engineering and Green Technology that I just referred to with its Yakable won a U.S. Green Ribbon, nationally recognized schools. And then we have some schools that continue to be among the lowest performing in the state. And when I did my entry work last year, one of the greatest themes that came up over and over again, almost no matter who I spoke with, was the urgency to improve our neighborhood schools. We really have a separate and unequal system now. And we had to do something about that. And we are doing something about that. And so I took my senior leadership team on some tours of schools, and not just tours of schools. We went out there and we talked with the principal and the leadership team and had deep conversations about their school improvement efforts and about what we were doing or not doing at central office. We asked them, what are we doing that gets in your way? What are the barriers that we need to remove so that we can help accelerate student progress in your schools? So from listening to our schools and our school leaders, and then reaching out to some of the best practice and best research in turnaround work. We learned really from our neighbor in Massachusetts. They have a robust turnaround strategy. And they were able to look after 3 years of implementing their strategy. What was the difference between schools that were successful in accelerating progress and those that were still kind of stuck and didn't make progress? And so from the lessons learned from our own schools and successful schools next door, we built out an acceleration agenda that is a system of supports for these schools that we just didn't have in place before. And it is support at the leadership level. Again, can't turn around a school without a great leader, but we need to support them. We have asked them to do a tremendous job with an incredibly heavy lift. And they need the central office behind them to do that work. So we've built in additional support at that leadership level, at that teacher-team level, and the team matters, so that teachers are collaborating and learning from one another, but on instruction that is targeted to each student. And then last, support at that individual student level, because I'm kind of a teaching and learning girl. And as much as I would just like to focus on that classroom, our students are coming to school with such tremendous needs that if we didn't attend to the support and enrichment that they need outside of the classroom, they just could not be present for learning inside the classroom. So we've built into this acceleration agenda a way to craft an individual plan of support and enrichment for every single child in our cohort of 6 acceleration agenda schools. Brand new turnaround strategy, really proud of that work. My team last year, unfortunately, we had kind of a facilities emergency that's been widely publicized in one of our schools. And, when we had to deal with that, my team got together and we were meeting twice a day. And then, once we stabilized it, they were meeting weekly. And I was like, guys, you're doing really good problem solving here. This is good work. What if we treated teaching and learning this way? What if we started to treat teaching and learning like an emergency? And I tell you now, with this acceleration agenda, we are treating teaching and learning like an emergency in the Hartford Public Schools. I want to talk to you a little bit more about putting students at the center of their learning, because I think you're going to find yourself in the plan through thinking about ways that you can connect with our amazing students. So yes, we're looking to rapidly accelerate the achievement of our students. At the same time, we're going to keep innovating. And so we've created 3 high school centers of innovation that pair neighborhood and magnet schools, again, so they're learning from each other. And we're trying to reimagine teaching and learning. We're thinking about how we use time differently, the expertise of a teacher, buildings, right, and other resources. And so we have 3 centers of innovation. The first builds on a great blended learning pilot. We're thinking differently about technology. Technology is here to stay. And how our kids access that information and use it well is critical to their education right now. So we're building out models of blended learning, and that enables us to use a teacher in a smarter way, right? If kids can do some of that work and they watch a lecture at home and then they can come in, that frees up a teacher to provide individual support to kids. So really thinking how we use resources such as technology and a teacher's expertise differently. Secondly, we're rethinking seat time. And we're thinking about mastery. rather than just sitting, like we all did, right, 180 days, 7 periods, 45 minutes a period, right, and then you got your grade, and okay, thank you very much. Now we're saying, wait a second, let's really lay out what our kids need to know and be able to do. Some kids might achieve it at a faster pace. Some might need more time. So our second center of innovation is exploring mastery-based learning. The third has a lot of possibility for you in this audience. We are going deep on project-based learning, and part of that is building on the amazing internship work we have done in partnership with Capital Workforce Partners, with the City of Hartford, with the MetroHartford Alliance, and with CBIA. Students and the students who have had the internship experience always tell the story way better than I could. So I want to tell you one of our students' stories and her experience with an internship opportunity she had through this program. This is Amber Lee Delgado. She is a proud graduate of the Hartford Public Schools of High School Inc. And I am proud to say she's a freshman now at UConn. So we asked Amber Lee, tell us about your internship experience. And she said, I'm a Hartford kid. And I'd look downtown at those tall, shiny buildings, and I couldn't imagine myself being in one of those buildings until I had my internship experience. And then not only was I in the building, I was successful. I contributed to that business. And then she said, I went off to UConn, and I was talking with one of my professors. And, I was telling her, I had these internship experiences, and the professor says, in high school, you had internship opportunities? She said, wow, you really stand out. And Amber Lee said, me? A Hartford kid? I stand out in college. So I hope that you will give other Amber Lees the same kind of opportunity to realize not only can they go into the big shiny buildings, but they can contribute. And people fall in love with our students, and the internships aren't just giving them photocopies. They'll do real work for you. You'll see how smart and talented our students are. But I think Amber Lee's story is so powerful, and we know you can help many of our other students stand out and be successful through these opportunities. So I've walked you through our vision, where we're going, how we'll get there, leadership, putting students at the center. I know you all in the business, you're a business community. How are you going to measure success, right? How will you know you've gotten there? So we're kind of going for it with some bold equity indicators. And we want to make sure that in 5 years, all of our students are accepted into college. Now, I know what some of you are thinking because some people have said it to me. Superintendent, not all of your students are going to go to college. Now, see, you're probably right. But our students deserve the choice and the option, and we are not going to make that choice for them. And some of you have heard me say this before, but then I get a little, kind of cheeky about it. And I say, you know what? If you grew up in the suburbs, this expectation of college is in the air you breathe. Our kids in the city deserve nothing less. And then we've mapped out, how are you going to get there, right? That's a big goal. So we've mapped out what your career with us as a student has to look like to get there. So we've named out some critical academic milestones that are gatekeepers, that are big predictors of on-time high school graduation, 3rd grade reading, 9th grade algebra. We've named indicators that tell us if kids feel like they belong in school and are cared about. So attendance, reducing suspensions. We had great results last year. We had 6,000 out-of-school suspensions when I came here. I was appalled. Right? We reduced it by 1,000 last year and have some work to do. But in its system, where nearly 90% of our kids are black or brown, I have told my staff we are not going to criminalize our children. It's a real equity indicator for me. And then making sure that every kid has that personalized success plan and connection to a caring adult. Again, this is where you might fit in. Kids who beat the odds often point to that one adult who cared about them, that pushed them, that advocated for them. So just want to close out and say that our new strategic plan calls out explicit strategies and equity indicators that we will work towards and achieve. And my vision is that in 5 years, we will come together to celebrate the fact that 100% of our young people have been accepted into college, that 5 years from now, we have dramatically reduced achievement gaps and variability of performance. Making that vision a reality is the work of equity warriors. If our schools are able to do this, we will be able to supply you with a strong and capable workforce. No one person can do it alone, and yes, there are many barriers that get in the way, but I am proud to have every single one of you as partners in this journey. Thank you.
Want to sit in the middle?
Sounds good. Just going to grab my water.
Yeah, you got water? Absolutely.
Thank you.
Beth, thank you very much. And as she's sitting down, I know Paul Holzer's right behind me. Paul is the executive director and has been for the last several years of Achieve Hartford. And for those of you who've been around for a while know that when Steve Adamowski came 7 years ago, he thought that the most important thing that the business community could do is to provide a constructive friend for the school system, a local education foundation. So Chief Hartford was formed. Many of you in this room helped fund it. And its goal is to drive accountability, be a partner, in this case with Superintendent Narvaez and the rest of the team, to make sure that all of us together, that we're working together to make sure that the Hartford Public School System does indeed become great. The tagline that Paul has and his team have are strong schools, strong city, and I would even go so far as to say strong region. So Paul, delighted you're here, and I'm going to, I think I can I pull this out? Yes, I can. I'll sing a song in a minute. I'm supposed to moderate this little exchange. I want to let Paul have the first question, and it's really to build off of some of the comments that Superintendent made. Your views, Paul, in terms of how the private sector and the business community particularly can support the school system and support Achieve Hartford's goals.
So I'm going to talk more generally than just like the school district or the school system. I think that there's 3 ways that we are looking at partnership in the city, and I think everyone needs to really evaluate what their level of partnership currently looks like, and then if you're not partnering, you know what level of partnership you want to have. When you're running a school, you want some partners to say, "What do you need?" And we want to support that with a check or with some other resource. And I think that's great. I think that's wonderful. We need that. There are partnerships that are really being driven by, say, the external partner saying, "Hey, here's what I need," right? And there's nothing wrong with having self-interest in approaching every partnership. No good partnership is missing that, or you have to have everyone's interests aligned. But what I think we need to look at is how do our partnerships become really big and strategic, right? Where people are really thinking about their resources and how they match a school district, or their resources and how they match a school. So I'm going to highlight an example of this, right? If you go to West Middle School, which happens to be the highest performing neighborhood school, shout out to anyone in West Middle, I guess, you have a number of partners there who are looking to help that school. And for years, it was about volunteers reading, right? Coming in and reading to kids. And everyone's thinking, that is fantastic, that X number of volunteers are coming into the school, that they're getting to know the kids. That's wonderful. But then if I were to challenge you in the audience and say, well, how can that be just much better? Right? You'd have to ask questions about, well, what are the relationships between those who are coming into the school building and the kids that they're reading to, right? Is there magic in that relationship? Is it a sustained relationship? What are they reading? Are they actually reading something that's aligned to where they're working on in class, right? And then the third question you'd ask is, that body coming through that door, is that the best we can do with them? Is just to say, I need you to read to this child. Or is there a much bigger goal that the school has around, say, getting these kids aspirations, right? Exposure to careers, right? So that they can start really thinking about their identity, right? I think there's a standard in partnership that right now in Hartford really needs to be raised, Oz, and I wanted to just put that out there. And we are part of that. We're actually working with West Middle and helping them convene stakeholders to figure out an action plan for community engagement. So I think that first and foremost has to be top of mind for everyone. Let's evaluate partnership. What are we getting out of it as a business or as a nonprofit, but especially as a business? And then what is the school getting out of it? And to be unabashed about what are we getting out of it. Because while it may be great that you have volunteers going into school to read, could you be getting a lot more out of that partnership? I think the answer many times is yes.
Great, Beth. I'm going to build off of that a little bit. One, you mentioned in passing not only the internships, and we mentioned Hartford Promise, but mentorships. And obviously one of the other partners in this is the Hartford Consortium for Higher Education, Martin Esty, and Career Beginnings. Building off a little bit of what Paul said, that's more at the middle school, but the high school, we'll just talk a little bit about that personal relationship that can matter so much to a high school senior.
Yeah, that's right, and we really appreciate the partnership with the Hartford Consortium for Higher Education and Achieve Hartford. You have been really focusing on this too. So, we won't be satisfied if our kids only get accepted to college. Right? In fact, it worries me, right? What if they get accepted and they're not ready?
Right.
And then they take on debt, and it's just not a good situation.
Right.
We want them to be ready, to succeed, to persist, to thrive, to graduate, and the Hartford Consortium helps us do that with Career Beginnings by providing mentorship to our younger students, ninth grade, reaching down, helping them through the college application process,
right.
The FAFSA process, and then helping that bridge. What we're finding in our schools, Oz, are that many of our kids are already getting accepted into college. What happens is what is known as summer melt. They don't then show up in September and enroll.
Right.
So the partnership with Career Beginnings helps to make that happen, to make sure not only, do kids apply, get accepted, but they show up and then have some support to persist and be successful in college. And I know that's been a real focus of yours too, Paul, with the Lumina Foundation. And we need partners to help us do that.
Right.
We're really trying to shore up that K-12 piece. And that help then, once our kids leave us, is really important to us.
It is very important, and I just would commend, Paul, Achieve Hartford has its website. The Hartford Career Beginnings has its. You have material out in front here with Capital Workforce Partners on the internships. This it takes a village to raise a child kind of theme. And it is for those of us who've got enlightened self-interest in this. The youth in this region is concentrated within the city. And so the education of these young people, both in the classroom and in the business cycle, in the business and private sector settings, is so critical. Let me ask another question, Bella, lead off with you on this one. And this is one I remember when Steve Adamowski first came, that the issue of a young person living in some of the more challenged neighborhoods in this city, not necessarily having the structure that many of us were blessed with in family, or having some of these moving around from school to school. Steve's point was, we will not accept those kinds of situations as an excuse for not educating our children. Yet the reality is that not every child comes from what some of us would call a stable environment. I want to just take a minute and share your thoughts, and I'll ask Paul to do the same thing in terms of if there's any particular perspectives or actions that we should be focused on.
Yeah, thanks. I agree with Steve. We will not use it as an excuse. Right. But we do have to attend to it, as I noted in the acceleration agenda work that we're doing with our schools, right? If we could just focus on the classroom, we'd be great. Right. But we know that we need to attend to needs that kids are bringing to school. And so in that acceleration agenda, we're working with a group out of Boston that piloted this work in the Boston public schools, so another urban school system. It's called City Connects, and they look at the assets that you have in your community, all the resources that are there to serve kids and families or provide enrichment, that social capital, right, that kids might not have, and then helps a school to craft a plan for each child. And also I want to give a shout out. I see one of our other great partners is here, the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, and they are supporters of our community schools that provide wraparound services to our students, so health services, mental health services, other access to other resources that families might need, again, so that, we don't make excuses about it, but that we do pay attention to it and take care of our kids and families in real holistic ways.
Paul, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm gonna mix things up here.
It's never been in your. I can't believe you're going to do that.
So out of character, right?
So I just want to address, if I were in the audience right now, I hear about kind of everything that we're doing with partners and community schools, which I trumpet all the time. I mean, that's such a big job of ours, is to kind of be the cheerleader. Is what I worry about is, well, that sounds great. It sounds like kind of we're on it, right? And we're not. We're not even close. And we're not going to get there if we continue to think that the school district has got enough money, or the state needs to step in and do their work, and we have a fantastic superintendent with an amazing disposition of partnership that we're taking advantage of. It has to go above that. I mean, there has to be a belief in everyone in this room that the only way forward to have the economic region we want is to make sure that these kids are getting through high school, into college, into meaningful employment, and they're not getting into crime or in need of other government services. You have got to see the economic impact, the millions of dollars in salaries and spending and home sales and tax revenue that is awaiting this fantastic city if we can figure out how to help every one of these kids get through. And we're at a tipping point. Okay, half of our schools, roughly, are magnet schools, which means they have this, unique model, which about, special infusion of dollars, and they are award winning, right? What I love about Dr. Narvaez is when she got here, it was like, there's like two school systems. I need to really focus. It's about TLC, focus expectations on the neighborhood schools that don't have that situation. But the neighborhood school situation is dire, okay? The first year of test scores that came out, you've got average 1 of 4 in kids, meeting or exceeding expectations on the new test, average of 1 in 7 on math. You break out just the neighborhood schools, right? That's 14% in reading and 7% in math, meeting or exceeding expectations. Like, we are on our way, but this is still a state of crisis. And I think people in this room know that. I think everyone's smart enough to realize that. And I think that there's a question that comes up often about poverty, which is, are we really going to fix this if, the situations at homes are what they are, right? And I challenge us to think about our own expectations of families in Hartford, right, in 2 ways. One, if you don't speak your mind on this issue of poverty and on families and where responsibility lies, right, you're not helping. Speak your mind, right? If you think that it's not okay for a parent to have a 5th child when they're struggling to support 1 through 4, right, speak it, right? We have to come together on this issue. But then also at the same time, right, think about, well, what are we going to do to support that family? Because don't pretend like in the suburban districts, like the parents are doing all the work. The mentality is very similar in suburban districts as it is in urban districts, where you show up, your expectation is, I pay good tax dollars for a system to know what to do with my kid, and I'm dropping them off. This kid better succeed, right? Urban parents have a very similar expectation of the school system, right? And oftentimes they're not savvy enough to really know that that's not happening until it's too late. And so, we really need to address this issue of poverty head on. And the strategies that the school district are pursuing with the support of so many corporate foundations and philanthropic institutions is amazing. But there's still so much more to go, and you've got to find a way to tap into it and say, what are we going to do about it? Because that's the missing ingredient in Hartford becoming fantastic.
It's a very good point, Paul. I'm going to give you the last word in a second here, Beth, just before we wrap up. But I also, in addition to Beth recognizing the foundation and the career beginnings, just want to acknowledge the leadership that Jim Ravella, as chief of police, has done in terms of the efforts. And I recognize that we're going through a horrific period here. in the city. But Chief Ravella's got the same focus on providing solid examples, providing role models. I know several of you are involved with the Police Athletic League that Jim has revitalized, and I think this whole notion that both Beth and Paul are positioning about this need to work together is absolutely fundamental. So with that, since you were our guest speaker, Superintendent, any last words to the community?
Just say I'm not foolish enough to think that we can do it alone. So many of you are already in it with us, and I thank you for that. I could have given so many shout-outs today, and I do want to thank you for all that you do every day for our students, and I hope that I've been able to inspire some of those of you who are new to us to come and partner. Again, you will fall in love with our students, and they will make a difference for you, for your business, for our community, and we believe for the world. So thanks for listening today, and I hope this isn't the end of the conversation. Let's keep talking.
It certainly won't be, and I just up on the, I know the screen, there's another slide up there. If there are comments that you have about this morning, please feel free to fire away. I think there's another slide behind that just acknowledges not only Achieve Hartford and Hartford Promise and Travelers, but a number of us who are working on this front. Hope you'll leave here with a better understanding of where the superintendent's trying to take the school system. Leave here inspired that there is energy here, and take Paul's challenges seriously. We have gone a long way, and much has been accomplished. But we're a part way down what is still a long journey, and the sense of moral obligation that we have to one another and to the future workforce is critical. So thank you for being here. Thanks to Travelers, Marlene, for all the work that you do, all of you who are involved in organizations that are supporting children in the Hartford Public School Systems. Thanks for being here this morning. Enjoy the rest of the day.